Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the first EOcafe of the autumn season of 2022. Great to see you all again, and we had a lot of people sort of really pleased that EOcafe was back, which is nice. But we have a problem. we have a big problem because our guest hasn't arrived. So I may be just talking to myself or just talking with you.
That's good enough.
Yeah. Well, I think this we'll do. We'll see. Hopefully, Mark will turn up, but we've tried calling him and he's not picking up. So hopefully there's no real problem. And so there we go. So we're back with a new logo. Been a lot of work refining the logo, a lot of discussion about the logo. So we have a new logo with a satellite coffee cup and EOcafe.
Looks like a cannon to me.
Yes.
Thanks,
Stefan.
I'm joking just because I know the discussions about logos.
Yeah.
You'll never get everybody to agree.
Oh, there was a lot of discussion.
Really pulling your leg because I saw, and to my British friends and colleagues that I haven't spoken to, my harshest condolences, but we've seen quite a lot of cannons shooting lately. In the UK at least. Don't talk about the other ones. So I was just pulling your leg, just to make room for Mark to join.
Yeah, let's hope he does. Just a little word because I'm having an internet problem. So this morning I was chairing a workshop and my internet cut out. I thought we'd fixed it last night, but obviously we haven't. So hopefully it will hold up for this call. So maybe this first EOcafe of the new season is going to be a bit different to all the others. Mark, if he joins us, is the new chair of ERSC, current chairman of ERSC, elected just over 12 months ago. And Mark and I go back a long way. So we wanted to talk about the sector, talk about the changes and the trends in the sector. Normal rules for the EOcafe, so please keep microphones off unless asked to speak. A little bit more flexible this time if we're going to have an open discussion. So as long as it's not causing any problems, then I don't. No problem if you keep microphones on, in fact, and keep the camera on if you wish. It's nice to see you and to see a face when we're talking. So still no sign of Mark? Doesn't look like it, no. So we see a lot of change in the sector at the moment. I mean, the market seems to be changing. A lot of factors are changing. Is now going to be different. And in saying that, I look back in the 1980s, we had the launch, well, Landsat became rather well known, launch of SPOT. After a brief flurry of lots of images in the press, a lot of enthusiasm for access to satellite imagery. Things quietened down in the 90s. We had ERS launch, so we had radar data as well as optical data. MVSat at the end of the decade. Eurimage was formed, which Mark would recall. And we again thought that there was a sort of a big commercialization taking place, but it didn't really happen then. In the 2000s, we had the start of commercial enterprises, Rapid Eye, very much following the European model, PPPs. Landsat became free. There was the Commercial Remote Sensing Act in the US, which changed things quite a bit and paved the way in many ways for Landsat to become free. And of course, the response to Landsat being free was the fact that the take-up wasn't happening. So people, the predicted take-up of Landsat, once it was free, the use mushroomed. I mean, it went up exponentially. You've probably all seen the curves, but still no real explosion in the market. In the 2010s, next decade, this really was a period of rapid change. Early in the decade, we had Skybox and Google, which then became Planet with Rapid Eye. A number of other, well, many other private ventures starting. Copernicus came to reality with first launch at the end of 2014. So again, we had a massive change in the market. And the market's been growing steadily. If we look at our industry survey, the market's grown pretty steadily through the last 10 years. But you know, I would still say the expectation is for us to, so Mark's on his way, for things to take off. It feels like a moment of change. It feels like, there's a lot of change happening, and that's what we'll hopefully go on to discuss. There's an avalanche of data, many new ventures, many new launches, many new constellations. The multiplying of the Sentinel satellites, the interesting reaction to the Sentinel-1B failure, which I find very significant, because with Copernicus, Sentinels, the fact that we had two satellites providing identical data and imagery assured security, which would assure customers and allow commercial applications to be built. But with the failure of Sentinel-1B, there was a massive reaction saying, oh, this is terrible, we need Sentinel-1B. So the expectations have changed. And that, well, really is very positive. So that's the background that I see. Mark and I have worked together at different times over this period, and I was hoping to get his views. What is different now? Well, we've got many and varied data sources. So if there isn't redundancy between satellites, so Sentinel-1A or Sentinel-1B, right, there is redundancy between the data availability. So if it's not available from one satellite, it's available from another. Maybe there's some tweaking that needs to be done to ensure the data's comparable. But again, commercial operations have the confidence to offer products and services knowing that data will be there, or confident the data will be there. We have new sensors, new constellations going up, new applications. I don't just mean in Copernicus, but I think in terms of, well, there's the Spire system, the GHG sat system, many of them, many different types of sensors, many different applications which are coming out of that. There's faster, more reliable access to the data, so we can respond quicker to customer needs. Of course, there are downsides in that, in where the data is being stored and how it's accessed. There's much more processing power, especially linked to cloud storage, so less need to move data around, more access. Artificial intelligence is coming in, and all these things are helping to change the market. So that is really what is changing, and what I'm looking to generate a discussion around and have reaction. Is Mark in the room?
Yes, he is.
Hello, Mark. Of course, there's no need to shout.
We cannot hear you, Mark.
Hello, Mark. You're showing as unmuted, but we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Ah,
Yes. Oh, you've had a struggle to connect, I think.
absolutely. No, but I tried about 10 minutes ago to contact and so on, but okay.
Well, I was explaining before you arrived that my own internet has been dropping out recently, and we thought we fixed it last night. But the workshop I held this morning, I lost it halfway through. So fortunately, we'll prearrange for it to be picked up. So maybe you've had trouble to connect, and I shall have trouble staying connected. We'll see. Hopefully not.
Okay.
I don't want to go right through everything again. I've been through the introduction with everybody, talking about the changes. I talked about the decades that we've had, and each time there seemed to be a change which has not really resulted in a massive change in the market. But the market has been growing steadily, as we've seen in our industry survey, but not the sort of explosion in the market that I think many people have hoped. The question is, will we see that, and is the time now? Maybe give your thoughts to that, and then we'll carry on our discussion.
Yeah, indeed, I was listening because I was connected on my phone.
Ah, okay.
Because of
Good.
Of this PC. But yes, no, it was indeed. I appreciate very much the overall landscape that you described, and I, of course, I fully support this landscape vision. But it's clear that we can consider that Earth observation as a rule, but more particularly the Earth observation downstream sector is somehow at a cornerstone, because as you said, we have known significant growth over the last 2 decades, I would say. It's something which has been steadily growing. And today there are some questions floating in the air. Would we see a real boom of the use of these Earth observation and in several economic sectors, or do we have to get support from the institutional bodies for making these market uptake happening? That's really one of the other issues. I think that now the question, and it was more or less the discussions I wanted to trigger here, is what ERSC can do on that. What is the role of an association like ERSC in this landscape? And that's typically what I would like to share with all the participants, which, by the way, I thank very much for attending this cafe. And just as an introduction, I would say that there are basically three categories of action that ERSC can support on that. Of course, to push for this market uptake at institutional level and commercial level, and for that, of course, to demonstrate what Earth observation can bring to institutional bodies at European level, with the use of Earth observation in the directives, the monitoring and applications, or even at the opposite end of the chain, at a very local level, what Earth observation can bring to the local authorities in charge of territory management to face the big climate change challenges they have to face. So that's on the institutional, and as well, of course, in the commercial sectors. And on that, the role of ERSC is, yes, to gather first, and then to disseminate all the references that Earth observation downstream industry can have in order to make that as known as possible by the different stakeholders. On that, that's important to be said also today. We need also the support of the Earth members. We need to gather all this information in order to make that known. Good example, which concrete example are the papers we are producing for the last one being in the frame of the forestry sector, whereby we have gathered, because we knew that something was under discussion at European level for changing or renewing the directives dealing with forestry management at European level. So we have gathered from our member some examples, some key examples of what Earth observation can bring in this domain, and that has been used by the European Environment DG in the production of the directive, and we are also communicating that with the big forestry stakeholders, including private ones at the European level, in order to better know that. So that's the first action, to push and to participate to the market uptake actions. And again, that must be done in full coordination with all our association members.
Yeah. And indeed, the latest news there was that the Parliament have voted some of the amendments that we proposed. So even into the plenary, there is impact from ERSC on that legislation, which is good to hear. I mean, certainly within the work we do on SEBS, we see operational uses of EO. We see really useful and beneficial activities, but it's often due to the enthusiasm of one person in the organization. It's not institutionalized, as I often say, across the organization. So there's a feeling there that if that step can be made to introduce or make aware of the use of these operational products and services and broaden their use, that there's quite a large potential for uptake particularly in the public sector, not just, but particularly in the public sector.
Yes, definitely. I think that our key challenge here, which is common to all of us, is to work for Earth observation becoming a real operational tool in the value chain of these operators, be it institutional ones or commercial ones. Meaning we have to demonstrate the real added value provided by the Earth observation in order to secure a kind of recurring process whereby Earth observation becomes a real operational tool, which becomes more and more necessary for these different operators in different sectors. Still a lot to do. We are progressing on that, but we are still far away. I take another example, which is I know quite well due to historical background, is the defense area. We know that in the defense areas, and specifically for the strategic matters, Earth observation has become a real operational tool, which is totally part and integrated into the defense operations. That's something which is real and recognized as being a key asset for these sector. So we have to achieve the same kind of situation in other sectors. And on that, again, we need the cooperation of all the members.
Yeah, Surely there's also increased potential in the defense and security side with increasing presence of Europe and increasing evidential need for better information, but a lot of barriers to overcome to make that happen.
Yeah, I think that we can be helped as well here with typically, unfortunately, with environmental pressure, which is now very well known by all the stakeholders, and we are also progressively building demonstration that Earth observation can play a significant role in these environmental protection actions and adaptation to climate changes. That all the actions related to the contribution to the SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals. There is a specific working group within ERSC dealing with that. And here again, I think that I can encourage all members who have something to show, to bring, to participate to this working group, because the only purpose of that is just to make these success stories known and to make the potential users aware of it. So that's typically the first category of action. There is a second one, which is very important as well, which is to discuss with all the policymakers, I would say, the space policymakers at the European and sometimes at national, but mainly at the European level, in order to first to secure the institutional effort which is done for the Earth observation, and which we must definitely acknowledge. We have to recognize that Earth observation has been supported heavily by the European institutions in the past 20 years with the Copernicus program, with all the services attached to it, with the budget, including within ESA, which has been significantly growing over the past. We have to acknowledge that. We have, of course, to lobby and to act for these efforts to continue, and for that we have to justify why, and to help indeed these institutional bodies to in their justifications for that. We have also to clearly defend the position of European industry in this process. That's also our job. And in European industries, there are two words: European, meaning the role and the place of the European actors with respect to non-European ones. And there is the word industry as well, which is also sometimes a challenge to demonstrate the added value of industrial partners with respect to other actors more in the academic or in the research area. The idea being, of course, not to fight against, but to get right positioning between all these different actors, research and operational solutions.
It's not really a competition. I mean, everyone is trying. We're trying to expand things, and hopefully for everybody.
Should not be. And the third category of action, just to complete the panorama of the ERSC action list, I would say, is more toward the members, our members as such. We know that a specific characteristic of these downstream sectors, we know that it is very fragmented, and there are a lot of small actors, SMEs, even micro enterprise in this sector. It is valuable and an interesting characteristic in terms of innovation, in terms of dynamism, I would say. But it is also a weakness sometimes, because we have to recognize that it is difficult to address big markets and big solutions with these very fragmented scenario, and in particular at export. And that's typically where ERSC, as an association, can also help support to all these actors to be present at export, to sometimes work together in order to achieve a big success, to also work properly with big actors, because there are also big industrial actors in this domain, of course, the satellite operators, but not only. And the challenge here is to make a successful melting point of these different categories. Not always easy, we know, but nevertheless we have to work on that, because again, if we want to be visible and successful, we have to be able to make great things together.
So there's a lot for us to do. You're setting out a fairly ambitious agenda. You're not alone. You have a board of directors. The change in the summer, I think we had 5 new directors elected, which was, I think, unprecedented for ERSC. I mean, you need to go back to the original formation of ERSC and the directors to have so many new directors. So you've got some new blood helping you. We've got 1 or 2 of the new directors on the in the cafe, and perhaps we can give them the opportunity just to introduce themselves.
Certainly, who starts?
Well, the five new directors, I've noted, I mean, we had Fabio Volpe from EGEOS. And just a point, I guess, to say, I mean, everyone has their company, their affiliation. As a director of ERSC, they're working for the sector, not for the company. So it's they need to find a balance of actions, but they're looking to develop the sector. We had Betty Sharalam-Populu from Geosystems Hellas, Wendy Carrera from Airbus, Tero Foraste from ISI, and Francisco Vilena de Cunha from Geosat. I think only Betty and Wendy are still with us. Fabio couldn't join at the beginning, and I think the other 2 have left. But if I'm missing you in the list, please shout very quickly. But so maybe Betty, you could just introduce yourself, join the open your microphone and introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, everybody, for voting me and giving this opportunity, especially in year 22, which is the year that we expect to follow up on actions that started before COVID era. And we're a little 2 years freezed under the situation. My background is on geology, but since late 90s, I have been working on remote sensing and photogrammetry. So the history that Jeff have explained is very close to me. I have been following ERSC actions for many years. I'm the CEO of Geosystems Hellas. Geosystems Hellas is a Greek SME based in Athens since 2009, but we do have also a German shareholder, Geosystems GmbH, as minority. But during the COVID era, etc., is sold since last March to IHB. So we are in as sisters companies to the OHB family. My involvement in ERSC and my vision is to try to bring new initiatives on top that the existing ones, means use of Earth observation and remote sensing, because now the technology is quite mature to use them, in areas that in the past we didn't. For example, in cultural heritage, in construction, let's say road construction, port construction, companies that in the past they didn't understood the strength of the Earth observation. So like that, I think that as a team, we can further work and bring new tips in the puzzle, because I can agree with Geoff and Mark. The puzzle is a living body. The remote sensing and Earth observation puzzle is a living body. And I think the technology is always helping. Every year there are new things, and it's good to adapt all these things and make them useful to other industries that until now they weren't approached, and they didn't believe on what space downstream services can give.
So you're
So
ready
that's
to rise to the challenge.
Yeah, so
Good.
that's all from my side, and thank you for voting.
Thanks, Betty. Wendy, see you there.
Yeah, thanks,
Hi there.
Jeff. Hi, everybody. And as Betty was saying, I'd also like to thank you all who have voted for me on the board of directors. And as mentioned, I'm from Airbus Defence and Space, so from our intelligence division, where we work on the promotion of Earth observation data, but also all the thematic services that are in line with the expectations of different stakeholders, public and private and NGO and such. It's something that we do together with a number of partners. And when it comes to my activities, I'm involved in aspects related to sustainability, but also security related topics, data distribution, fingers and toes in so many different pots and pies that I like to say that gives me a sort of, let's say, a satellite view instead of a helicopter view of what's going on. And here, as in my role as director, it's, you know, to share that energy with the entire community, to say if we're talking about making the Earth observation market more attractive, it's for the benefit of all of us, to say that if we want all these new actors to strive, as well as traditional actors to put huge amounts on the table to innovate in certain areas where there's a need for critical mass, there's a need for a drive and for market attractiveness in that respect. As Betty was saying, also convinced that we're at a point of time where the technology is mature, but beyond that, there's a very good alignment in terms of the policy momentum in the Commission, where we see green, digital, and space being interconnected, and more aspects that are also growing. Some can be in the field of security, as Mark was mentioning, you know, without stepping on the toes of defense, but civil security concerns that might rise. So a lot to do. And yesterday I was talking to the Space Generation Advisory Council, but I'm also quite involved in stimulating youth and coaching young professionals or people from SMEs in that context. And they were wondering about, but will I be certain of finding a job in the space sector when I finish and graduate? And I was literally telling them there is so much that space can contribute to, that there's going to be more demand than the people that are going to be qualified to do so. And it's also promoting, let's say, non-traditional careers in space. So I'm not an engineer. I don't write code. So I come more from, let's say, a public relations / policy background. So to contribute that also to the ERSC family, and very much looking forward to the next couple of years together.
Thanks, Wendy. We need many skills to drive this sector forward. So and sometimes attracting those skills against fierce competition is difficult. But I think that's another area. I mean, ERSC has been working on the sector skills and trying to establish ways to encourage people into the young people into the sector, and to provide the material for training. It's an important point, and one that I think ERSC I assume will continue to do under your control, Mark.
Of course, we will. We'll try at least. And no, I take the opportunity, of course, to welcome the two members. As you said, we have this year a significant renewal rate in the board of directors, 5 out of 12, which is a good score. And it was, by the way, one of our will in terms of composition of the board of directors. We have been, we must be totally transparent on that. We have been reproached sometimes to be kind of a club of
dinosaurs,
old people, and always the same and so on. So we cannot, unfortunately, change our own age. But we made efforts for promoting and welcoming new figures, and by the way, also by preserving these differentiation in terms of size of companies. And here we have seen a very good example of small SMEs and big group representatives, and as well in terms of place in the value chain, meaning between from the satellite operators up to the value-added service providers. That's definitely a key asset of the association. And in addition to that, we are also trying to respect or to achieve a better gender balance, and which has we have doubled indeed the number of women in our board this year, from 1 to 2, which is not that bad. But we are conscious that we have some effort to do. No, just to be serious, the board wants to be open to newcomers. We will even, by the way, probably increase the number of board members for the next years, and that's something which will be proposed to the General Assembly of the members next year, in order to take into account the growth of the association by itself, and also in order to push for having newcomers. Just a word on that, and by the way, because I jump onto the new word, Jeff, you addressed a bit the concept of new space in the introduction. That's also something which is new, of course. And the new space wording was used for the first time, I would say no more than 18 months ago or something like that, or perhaps 2 years ago. So that's a concept which is still meaning to be defined, because there are as many definitions as people working in the area, more or less. So what is definitely changing is, I think, the process for building infrastructure, definitely, thanks to the technology evolution, but also some changes in the paradigm. Specifically, the ecosystem is changing with investors coming into the scheme, which is quite new. There have been significant changes on that in the past 2 years. I read a report made by the SP organization, which demonstrated that there is a kind of an exponential increase of investment funds coming into these space sectors, which is certainly positive on one side, so can have some negative effect as well. But it's definitely something which is new. Here again, it's something to be changed. We have to take that into account, and definitely what will be the impact of these new space spirit, and how the industry can take benefit of it, and what will be the key changes in the overall landscape.
Well, we see a lot of new companies being formed, and certainly in that sense, it's very dynamic. And as you said earlier, you're helping them to find their way. I think is a key goal. Maybe it's time to open up a bit and see if others have comments or questions that they would like to bring to the table. Any hands raised? Okay. So I'm not sure if that means we've said it all, Mark, or we've just been so far off the point that no one is willing to respond.
Something which could be interesting as well is to get some suggestion of what we could do better, or what we could do and we don't do at all so far. We are also very welcome for that. And, definitely.
So where is Earth not doing enough to help you?
Can I say something?
Dieter, yes, yeah.
Okay.
Dietrich,
my focus lays on agriculture, and I believe that it would be good to develop the market if there is a bit more pressure from the policymakers on agriculture. I think that could be give a change, because on one hand, we know that the policymakers have already restrictions in some areas, like reduced fertilization and or tillage only in a certain period of time and so on. And with remote sensing, we would have tools to monitor that. And there, I think the two things should come together. On one hand, the whole system was financed by the taxpayers, and now the European community wants to have maybe a harmonized policy. So yeah, I wonder why they are not more innovative or more active to bring these two things together. This on one hand, the regulations for the agriculture, and then on the other side, the remote sensing tools which are available already.
So you have any specific things that you would like to see happening?
Yes, as I said already, I mean, I know from Germany, there in water protection areas, you are not allowed to plow before 15th of December. And I know in other countries are similar rules. And I mean, such things can be, of course, monitored. Then we are talking a lot about restoration of peatland. So there you could monitor if it's really is flooded and so on. Then other things as well. I mean, why not? Or in areas where we have problems with nitrate, why don't we say you have to use site-specific fertilization, and then you need, of course, some data to achieve that. And it could be obliged. You know, it's not that any farmer has to have the technology on his farm, but he can use contractors to apply the fertilizer. I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, in Germany, there's the rules about not being able to put fertilizer within, I think it's 5 meters, maybe it's 10 meters of water courses. So there are specific rules there as well.
Yeah, in some areas, yes. I mean, there are different rules, and why not to use remote sensing to better monitor that? And there, I think it would make a change that more of such data would be used from a broad community, in this case, the farmers, and as well from the governmental institutions who monitor that. And then it comes maybe more to that everybody makes use of it, because at the moment, I don't know if it's still true, but it was said only 10% of the farmers use GIS, and of those, only 10% use remote sensing. I mean, that is then, I don't think that it's still the case, but I still think it's still a low number of farmers who use this data.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It is, but I just, if I may just to provide the first answer on that. First, thank you very much, because it's something which I think also is important, and I've been personally involved in that for many years. And I'm pretty sure, I know that Earth observation can be very valuable, both for regulation applications and also for supporting the farmers themselves in changing or adapting their practices and to be more sustainable. I think that we can very well, in the same way as we made for forestry, we can very well at Earth level launch a kind of campaign among their members in order to gather good references, good examples with real end users, be it either institutional ones or private ones, being farmers' organizations, in order to gather that and to use this set of examples for knocking at the doors within the institutional bodies, and as well the organizations, the professional organizations, to demonstrate what benefit they can get out of it. In this agricultural area, it's changing, because I remember very well even only 10 years ago, it was just impossible to talk about Earth observation to be used for monitoring the application of the CAP, because there were some people within an institution called GRC who just demonstrated that it was necessary to get an accuracy of some no more than some centimeters to monitor these applications. So now it's changing. Even Sentinel-2 is recognized as being a potential good tool for these CAP monitoring, and that's coming directly from the agriculture DG at European level. So it's progressing, but there are still a lot to do, and still a lot of opportunities to use Earth observation, which are not yet recognized at the right level. Again, both from the regulation bodies and also from the farmer organizations themselves. So let's take the action. Thank you to address that, and Delphine, and I think that's something to be recorded as well. We will launch these survey within the members first, and then building this catalog of solutions.
Okay, no one else coming in at the moment, so I wanted to maybe you mentioned export earlier. There's a lot of activity outside of Europe. I don't know how much you feel competition from outside Europe, inside Europe. But Breton is talking about a new industrial policy. How do you view the positioning of Europe on the international stage?
Two points on that. The first one is definitely Europe, thanks again to the Copernicus program, is recognized as being the leader. I think that we have to say that the leader, the world leader in terms of solutions for Earth observation solutions, at least for civil applications, I would say, for civil use. Defense is another story, and that's important because it is again a position which was not granted at all. If we come back before 2000, it was not the case. The leadership was in the US, definitely. I think that we changed that thanks to the institutional support, definitely. And I think that for the industry, that must be also the opportunity to be more and more present at export. There are some good solutions which can be used outside of Europe. There are some good opportunities also to get some support from the institutional bodies, specifically for in Africa, in Latin America, in other parts of the world, and so we have to take benefit of these opportunities. But on our side, and here I'm talking on behalf of the European industry, we have also to be conscious of our weaknesses. I said some minutes ago that the fact of having a very fragmented industry and small actors is definitely a drawback to address export. We have to try to overcome these weakness by organizing some common actions, and supporting these actions. ERSC had made that in the past 2 years, thanks to the Connect-EO program, for example, where 2 countries have been selected, Chile and Australia, and to organize some relationships with local actors in order to build up win-win schemes between European and local actors in these countries. Unfortunately, the COVID made the story much more complex than it was foreseen at the beginning, because it's difficult to establish good relationships without being able to visit and to physically discuss with the people, and it was impossible in the past 2 years. So it was definitely a breaking factor for that, but I'm absolutely sure that we will continue these kind of actions for giving the possibility of European actors, including small ones, to establish sound and good relationships with local actors in order to make their technology and their skills available at export. That's definitely an example. And another action where ERSC could help is also with respect to the institutional bodies. You mentioned the speech of Mr. Breton, and there are several actions, and including budgets, which are dedicated for supporting European industry to better and more export the technology and the services. We have to jump on it, and here again, I think that will be much powerful by going together rather than each one competing against the other one. So that's definitely a facet. Having said that, we have to recognize as well that the non-European industry is very active. We know we are facing sometimes, and more some competition coming from non-European actors, including in Europe, for the data itself, for the services also, and so which is the rule, right? It's also the rule of the game. So which means that we should not just say, okay, we are the best ones and we can keep stay quiet. No, it's not the case. And more specifically, if the market is growing, we all know that it's also attracting some interest from outside. So
that actually leads quite well into the question that Martin Mena is asking. He's noting that there's a big investment, and the investment side is growing, and is asking how to help more small companies. Martin, do you want to come in and just explain a bit more your question, your views? Oh, so Martin also has a sound problem. Okay. Well, I'm grateful my internet doesn't seem to have, I shouldn't say anything, should I? Okay. Okay.
Just perhaps to answer Wags,
Yeah.
Martin is trying to connect. There has been an initiative which has been launched by the European institutions and specifically EUSPA, which is called Cassini. And within the Cassini program, there is a possibility of making easier the access to financial funds, including to SMEs and small actors, which we have acknowledged, and we said that it's a good idea because there is definitely something to be done there. Today, I think that the process is still under construction as far as I can see it. I mean, it's going a bit slowly, but definitely the trend is there. And here again, I think that we have to participate as well to the game and to push first to make this process perhaps more operational or quicker, but also to make our members much more aware of what is possible there, and to jump onto the opportunities for getting easier access to financial funds. But I fully acknowledge that there is an issue there.
I mean, we've had session in EOcafe on Cassini, and we can revisit that. So it's an opportunity also to say to people, if there are specific topics that you'd like us to address in the EOcafe, or specific people you'd like to hear from, let us know and we'll try to organize it. Stefan, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, with due respect, I'd like to slightly contradict our beloved chairman. Cassini is DG Defis, not EUSPA. For most of its components, that's okay. It's just a detail. I would disagree. Already very significant amounts of money, tens of millions of euros, have been disbursed by the European Innovation Council to space companies. It's not a lot of EO, indeed. Is it because the EO companies haven't come up with good ideas? But there's really a very interesting vehicle with money. It's not like a VC that puts the money and then forces you to sell your company to a bigger company because they want to cash in, which has happened to a few people, some of them even around this virtual table. I would recommend that you invite, I can't remember her name right now, it's a Bulgarian lady that some of us know, that now is heading the space section of the European Investment Fund. She's a very good speaker, and what she has to tell you, if you haven't heard it elsewhere, she's been quite active in promoting this instrument. There's like companies have received 10, 15 million euros. Some is grants, some is investment. It's not a joke, it's happening. Not too many EO companies there. Lots of upstream, lots of components and things, but it may be our fault as an industry, and maybe not the Commission, the European Union, or its various agencies. You should invite her. Get back to me, Delphine. I'll find her name. I've got it on the tip of my tongue, but it really is an interesting story that she's telling.
Okay, no, thank you, Stefan, for correcting me. No problem at all. That's true that I was more thinking about the Earth observation, and it's true that it's the initiative has been launched by the DFIS. I had thought, or I had understood that EUSPA was in charge by delegation of DFIS to handle the program for the Earth observation part. But
if Guillaume de la Brosse hears you saying that, I don't think he will agree.
Yeah, no, but I can tell you that we attended some meetings with EUSPA where it has been said like that. So it's just
yeah. Well, it's
usual,
it's a very complicated and constantly evolving situation, let's say.
Okay.
But yeah, European Investment Council is another one of those institutions, and Stella Charakova or something, I can't remember. But Stella, you should really invite her to the not only the SME, well, the mediums, they support not only mid caps, mid-size companies, and again, the amounts that they can throw on the table are significant.
Stefan, we had here in our Expandio conference as a speaker.
Yes, exactly. She was in it. Maybe that's where I also heard her, but like she should come to an EOcafe too for those who did not attend the conference.
Good suggestion.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean we had a slightly late start or slow start, but we've come to the end of the time. So unless there's any other burning question, if there is, raise your hand. But in any case, as you know, the format of the EOcafe, you're very welcome just to stay around and open microphones and have a very general chat. Our next EOcafe will be in 2 weeks' time. As you know, we just had a discussion whether we publish a program for EOcafe, but the reality is that we fix it every second Thursday at 4 o'clock. So you know when it is, and then you can decide whether to join depending on the speaker. So next time around, we've got Paul Kune coming to speak with us. I've known Paul for many years, supporter of Standard Liège. And he'll be talking about EUMETSAT and the general directions of activity at EUMETSAT. Any other messages to read out? No. So thank you all very much for joining us today. Sorry for the slightly faltering lead-in, but I'm very grateful that my internet has held up, and look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks' time.
See you soon. Thanks
Have a good afternoon.
You too.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all. Bye then.